Hello and welcome to this next video where we're going to be talking about the different ways that we can embed value into our Agile project. We're going to start off today with this quick quote from Steve Jobs because I think it does a really good job of summarizing why we actually care about having Agile as a methodology that can be used in our work. Wait, put your hands down. Listen, I know you have 1,000 ideas for all the cool features iTunes could have. So do we, but we don't want 1,000 features. That would be ugly. Innovation is not about saying yes to everything. It's about saying no to all but the most crucial features. And if we think about that and how it actually applies to Agile work, it's really important to understand that within Agile, it's not about doing as much as we can do. It's about focusing on value. It's about focusing on what are the things that our customers care about the most, what's going to give them the most value. It's better to do one thing exceptionally well than it is to do 7 things to an okay level. And that really is what value inside of Agile is all about. Previously, we've looked at the different ways that we can actually think about how a project is made. And we've looked at this in terms of traditional projects and Agile projects. And we talked about this golden triangle inside of traditional projects, where we've got scope, time, and cost. If the cost decreases, either the scope or the time has to decrease too. If the scope increases, well, the cost or the time is going to increase. If the time increases, well, might be able to increase the scope. Within Agile, we actually take these 3 constraints and we put them in one corner. And instead, we think about value and quality. As our constraints change, if our constraints increase, the value could increase as well. If the quality wants to increase, well, the value probably has to decrease slightly to actually compensate for that. These 3 things are directly related inside of Agile, and it's vitally important that we actually focus on value and how we can use that inside of our project. So there's a number of different ways that we can actually try to embed value inside of Agile projects. We can try and deliver value in increments, and this is something that we've talked about quite a lot. Inside of our Agile projects, we don't just deliver the entirety of the project at the end. We try and deliver small increments so that a customer can see what things are being worked on. It also means that they can have something that they can then use straight away. If we think about how you might be designing a new website, you want to generate revenue from that website as fast as possible. You don't want to wait 6 months for every single feature to be made. You want to wait 2 weeks for the first feature to be there and to get it out so that your customers can start to use it. These small increments are really important. And adding to this, the idea of having an early delivery time also assists here. This helps giving value to the people that are trying to use your product. Every time that we're delivering something early, what we're doing is we're saying to our customers, look, here is something that you will be able to get value from now. We aren't holding on to features that they might be able to use at a later date. We're giving them things as soon as they're ready to be used. Another thing that we can do is we can use a value-based analysis to try and figure out what are the best things that we can do to try and add value to our project. What is the return on investment for different things that we can do? Let's compare 2 different features that you might see inside of a photo sharing application. One of these features is the ability for you to share pictures with your friends. The other feature is the ability for you to create physical photo albums that you can buy. Now, these 2 things have different types of value for different people. The ability for you to share things with your friends might convince your friends to sign up for the same photo sharing site. The ability for you to create physical photo books creates revenue straight away for the company because you're buying things from them. It's up to us as developers and up to companies as product owners to try and figure out, well, what is the return on investment for each of these features? I would say that in the first instance, we'd want to be doing the photo sharing thing because you'd be starting off with a small customer base. And you want to build that base to be as large as possible. And then only when it's large is when you'd actually want to try and then sell them additional things. Get more return on investment straight away. Another thing that we try and do to embed value-driven delivery is to prioritize collaborative work. With this, what we're doing is we aren't saying we as the developers know best. We aren't saying you as the customers know best. We're saying that collaboratively we can work together to understand what's best. Because if we think again about this photo website, it's going to take a lot of developer time to actually create this ability to share photos with your friends. It's not going to take as much time to create a system that can create an album and then send it off to be printed. Customers might not understand that link, and developers might not understand where the value is for customers for each of these different elements. So it's very important for us to work together collaboratively to understand how these things can actually fit. Other ways that we can embed value inside of our projects are through doing things like not actually adding things that don't add value in the first place. So if someone might think, actually, in a photo sharing website, wouldn't it be great if we can find similar photos that other users have taken? Well, yeah, but I don't want to see pictures of everyone else's holidays. I want to see pictures of my holiday. So that might be a nice feature, but it's not really adding value for me as a customer. So we need to think about these kind of things and eliminate the type of work that really won't create value for people when they're using a product. We also want to try and frequently review the work that we're doing. We want to work with our stakeholders so that they can see all of the work that's happening and they can get first-hand experience of what is being created. They can then use this to try and decide, well, is this creating the right type of value? Remember, customers don't really know what they want until they see something that's put in front of them. At that point, they're probably going to be really good at telling you, well, this is what I don't want, but you'll be able to take that, build on it, and create something even better. Remember from what we were talking about last time, fail fast, fail often. We also want to really try and focus on quality. If we're not focusing on quality, you're going to have to go back and redo something again and again. If we're focusing on quality as one of our main measures from the very start, it does make our life a lot easier in actually trying to embed value into our work. We also really want to try and focus on non-functional requirements. And this is something that we normally put to the back and we don't really think about. We want to think about things like privacy, user concerns, accessibility, performance. We want to think about what's going to happen in a disaster. How are we going to be able to recover all of this data and move on to a different platform? We want to think about how portable our code is, how interoperable are all of our different functions, classes that we're making? Are we going to be able to use them for different things in the future? Is our system scalable? Is it easily going to be extended as well? All of these sorts of things, which we normally don't think about for small scale projects, we really want to think about in agile teams when the chance of our projects exploding into something much larger could really happen. And lastly, we want to think about continuous improvement. And this is improvement for us as developers inside of the teams that we're working on. You'll remember that one of the things that we're really confident that we want to try and do is to try and say at the end of each of our time-boxed iterations, right, what went well last time? What didn't go so well? What can we improve upon to make sure that we work even better next time? So, those are the different ways that we can actually try and embed value into a project. But it's also worth thinking about why projects are created in the first place. Well, projects are really made for one of a number of reasons. But most of the time, what's really happening is we're wanting to try and create something new within a given time scale. Okay, they can be made because of market demand. People might be deciding, well, actually, this is a new type of application that's out there that I'm already using. I want to make something like this. It could be a strategic advantage to get a competitive advantage. So remember when Blockbuster moved from being in stores to videos online. It could be because of technological advancement. So think about things like iWatch. The different sorts of features that are appearing in that are only possible because of the technological advancements that have happened with body sensors. It could be because of legal and regulatory requirements. So for example, there's been quite a big push recently with accessibility and trying to make accessible content. It could be because of environmental consideration, because we want to try and make sure that we're creating products and services that make people more environmentally aware. Or it could be because, well, a pandemic has meant that we've needed to change every single thing that we're doing, and we need to enable a project that will help us to do that. So whenever we're looking at specific projects, what we're trying to do is figure out, well, which project is it that we want to do? The challenge is that there's always going to be more projects than we have time in order to complete. I know that for me, I've got a list of different things that I want to get done pretty much every day, and most of these have to get left on the back burner because there just really isn't enough time. And this is the same in industry. What we're really trying to do is look at each project and figure out what's the ROI, what's the return on investment here. Okay, there's different ways that we can think about this. We can think about this in terms of the payback period. So this would be the number of, or the amount of time it would take for a project to actually pay back the money that it costs to actually carry the project out. So if you've got a project that's going to cost £15,000, how long is it going to take for you to make that £15,000 back to make the investment worth it? We can also think about it in terms of the initial ROI, and we normally do this in a percentage form. With this, we can say, well, if a project cost £1,000 to do, and it's got an ROI of 50%, it would mean that over the lifetime of this project, we'd expect it to make £1,500. Okay. There's other different things that we need to think about then. So we know the different ways that a project can be formed, and we know some of the different ways that we can decide, well, why would we want to do a specific project? Thinking about the amount of money that it might make or the benefits that it would also bring. We take all of this information and we put this into a project business case. And this is really trying to make the case for a project to be carried out on a business perspective. If we think about a project larger than what you're doing as a team, or think about it in terms of what happens outside of the team that you're working in, someone has to decide, yes, this project is something that should be funded. And chances are that someone is going to be maybe 3 or 4 rungs above the ladder in terms of where you are. So they have to have something that they can read in order to determine whether or not this project is something that's going to go ahead. And this is normally done in a project business case. The business case contains a number of different items, and the first of these is the business needs. So what is the problem or the opportunity that this specific project is going to deal with? What is it going to look at, and what's the scope of the project going to be? After that, we also need to try and figure out, well, what's the scope of this problem? Why does this problem exist? Do we need to do a gap analysis to figure out how big this problem actually is? Once we've done this, we need to consider the different options. We can't just say, well, this is what I want to do, full stop, this is what we're going to do. We need to think about the different methods that could be used for this. We need to think about the different ways that we can think about a situation and try and figure out how we can approach something. One way that we can do this is through using the EBRAN approach, where we can say, well, is this an emergency? Is this something that we need to think about right now? What are the benefits of carrying out this method in a particular way? What are the negatives of carrying out a project in this particular way? What's the alternatives? Is there a different way that we could be doing this? And also, what happens if we do nothing? What happens if we just leave it? Once we've looked at all of these different things, we can start to think about what path we want to take. And we can give a recommendation to say, this is the specific thing that I think we should be working on. This would look at all of the different options that have been considered and pick one of these based on a number of different factors. And then finally, we really want to look at how we can measure success in a project. And with this, we're looking at how we're going to measure the benefits. Is this purely going to be a monetary thing? Is it going to be a change in attitude of employees? Is it going to be added benefit for people that are using your product? We need to try and figure out how are we going to be measuring success in whatever it is that we're creating. Once we've done this, we would create something that's called the Agile Charter. Okay, so we've created our project business case, we know exactly what it is we're going to do, and we've really said, well, this has now been approved. After this, what we would do is we create our Agile Charter, and this wouldn't really contain any fine-grained details, but it would contain information about our project that management would be likely to agree on. And it would contain these things here. It would contain information about the scope of the project. What is the scope? Okay, this would really be a high-level description of project goals, project objectives, and it would acknowledge the fact that the scope might change throughout the project itself. It would talk about why the project is actually going to be happening. Okay, this would be the business justification or the statement of the need for the project and what the desired end state is going to be. Where is it we want to get to? It's also going to talk about who is going to be impacted for the project. Okay, this could be a list of all of the people that are taking part in the project, a list of all of the different stakeholders that are going to be taking part of it, and also the members of the management team that could be responsible for it. It'll also talk about when the project is going to start and when the project is going to end. This will give a very kind of high level view of any milestones that are going to be taking place as well, maybe as well as talking about how big your time box sprints are going to be. It's going to talk about where the project is going to occur, so this could be work location or how it's going to be deployed, and it's going to talk about how the project is going to be executed. And this could be a little bit of a description about the approach of the processes that are going to be used, and again talking about these incremental updates and using the different kind of agile flavors that we've previously talked about. Once we've done that, we really need to try and figure out what our product vision is. And the vision statement is probably one of the things that is the hardest to create in a project. Normally, we try and fit our vision statements into about 100 words. However, sometimes they can be a little bit longer than this. But they always follow this specific layout. We always first talk about who the project is actually for. So we say for the target customers. After that, we then say what it is that they are trying to achieve with this. We then give the product a name and we put it in a category. We then say what the compelling reason is that this group of people are going to want to use this. We then say why it's different from all of the alternatives that already exist, and then say why those differences actually appear. So as an example, let's look at a library system. So for the avid book reader, student, research fellow, and librarian who need to search, borrow, and read books and other electronic content, the library management system is an online portal that provides a one-stop window to access thousands of books, magazines, publications, research material, and electronic media. So in that first paragraph, we very, very easily said, this is who it's for, this is what they're trying to do, this is what we're calling it, this is what it's able to do. In the second paragraph, unlike the older manual system, our product provides seamless integration to the student database, blah, 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 blah. This one is saying the previous system doesn't do all of this. Our one is going to do all of these different things. Okay, so it's being able to very, very clearly situate our project, who it's for, how they're going to benefit, and what they're going to be able to do with it. And this is something that you should be able to do for pretty much any project that you're carrying out. If they can't see the benefit in the project, maybe you need to think a little bit longer about why this project is actually taking place. Okay, that's all for this video. Hopefully that's given you a little bit of an insight into the different ways that you can embed value into a project and how you can also start to show others that value through some of the different sort of business case items that you might see at the start of a project initiation phase.